Good morning. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And here's Rory with the announcements.
Good morning, St. Johnsbury Academy. Today is Monday, September 19th, and it is a green day. All 9th grade seminar classes are meeting in the library today and tomorrow. Please go directly to the library, not to your normal classrooms. If you lost your purple retainer last week in the dining hall, please stop by the nurse's office to claim it. Attention class of 2025. The Sophomore Class Council will be meeting tomorrow in Colby 204 at 7:20 a.m. All sophomores are welcome to join. Attention sophomores, remember the class crown? If you don't, just look at Mr. Eckhart's head right now. Would you like to claim the crown for your advisory? Pay close attention to today's live act about this week's food drive and the Walk for Hunger. The sophomore advisory that brings in the most food items will ascend the throne and claim the crown. If you are considering a post-high school education or career in medicine, biomedical research, or other health sciences, you may want to think about pursuing the SJA Biomedical Certificate Program during your time here. Working towards the certificate opens opportunities in independent research, clinical observation and job shadows, and seminar events. Want to learn more? Come to the informational meeting on Tuesday afternoon at 3:30 in Streeter 248. Contact Dr. Desjardins or Dr. Sayarath with questions. Thank you for all who auditioned for Clue. The list of actors who are called back is posted on the Academy Theater Canvas page and can be found in front of the black box. Callbacks will be Tuesday, September 20th from 3:30 to 5:30 in the black box. Portions of the script that will be used for callbacks are posted on Canvas or can be found in front of the black box. Please email Mr. Walker with any questions. Happy birthday today to Sky Campbell, Connor Lyons, James Peluso, and Jaden Bunnell. Happy birthday. Today for sports, we have JV football versus North Country at 6 and JV cheer home at 6. Varsity field hockey at North Country at 4:30. Please dismiss the teams at 2:15. And JV and varsity volleyball at Harwood at 4:30 and 6. Please release the teams at 1:15. That's all, and have a great day.
Thank you, Rory. I have some late announcements. JVB boys soccer lost to BFA St. Albans 4-2. Varsity football lost to Essex 16-14. This is a squeaker. Varsity volleyball lost to Rice 3-0, but the JV team beat Rice 2-0. So on Friday, the boys cross-country team defeated MMU 17-42. Andrew Thornton Sherman, Carson Eames, Nathaniel Berner, and Nathan Lenzini took the top 4 spots to ensure the win. The Academy girls cross-country team, despite all 7 varsity runners finishing before Mount Mansfield's 5th runner, lost by 3 points in their dual meet at Millside Park. Bennett Krantz broke the 22-minute mark in the 5K and was followed closely by teammates Peyton Qualter and Wisteria Franklin, then Ava Purdy, Jasmine Engel, and Maddie Blanchard, with Lily Leskowski, Macy Moore, and Ivy Pavick performing well for the Hilltoppers. The Hilltopper girls race again this Tuesday at the Kingdom Cup in Newport. Congratulations, everyone. Good job. So one truly beautiful thing about the last 4 or 5 months has been the return of something that we missed more than we knew, which is live music. Being in one place at the same time, listening to music being played by a human is not an experience that can easily be duplicated by anything else. The way music moves us is a little bit like relating to reasoning in the way that food is related to a recipe, or looking at a picture of a vista is related to standing at the top of a mountain that you've climbed. So the faculty member who joins us here this morning to share his music is Mr. John McKenzie. Mr. Mackenzie was born in Wales in the UK to Scottish parents who had moved there due to his father's work as a soldier in the British Army. He grew up in the south of England. He has a BA in English from the University of Manchester and an MFA in creative writing from St. Andrews University. He's also qualified to teach ESL, which he taught in Warsaw, Poland after leaving university. Afterward, he returned to Manchester to work with refugees, teaching them English, as well as skills for managing life in the UK. In his free time, Mr. Mackenzie likes to run, cross-country ski, write music, and read. He'd like to travel more and has a hankering to visit South Africa and South America. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Mackenzie.
Thank you so much, Dr. Howell. What a treat to be able to be up here to talk to you. And you'll have to tell me about the microphone because I'm determined not to go into slouch mode, which happens with tall people sometimes. So if you cannot hear me, please tell me. So this slide here, I will tell you about in a moment. They're changing guard at Buckingham Palace. Christopher Robin went down with Alice. We looked for the king, but he never came. Well, God take care of him all the same, says Alice. They're changing guard at Buckingham Palace. Christopher Robin went down with Alice. Do you think the king knows all about me? Sure to, dear. But it's time for tea, says Alice. So wrote A.A. Milne of Winnie the Pooh fame, and certainly more than 70 years ago, probably sometime during the first half of the 20th century, the last time a king sat on the British throne. Of course, today they are again changing guard at Buckingham Palace as we bid farewell to Queen Elizabeth II at the age of 96, after 7 remarkably professional decades as head of state. As a British subject, and I'm an American citizen also, thank you so much. As a British subject who has lived away from the UK for almost 2 decades, I find myself asking the question, what should I be doing on this historic day that sees the Queen being laid to rest in London? In the past, when people here asked me how I felt about the British monarchy, I would tell them that having a constitutional monarch, which means one that does not have any power, is a bit like owning a pet. Let me explain what I mean by that. We love our pets to such an extent that they become part of the family. We end up sharing many of our most precious memories in life with our pets, as well as our brothers and sisters, etc. And that is how the memories get stored. When a beloved pet passes, we feel real grief, mainly because of who they were, but also, I would argue, because of the chunk of family history they have come to represent. Fortunately, with time, we can usually find ourselves a new pet, and before we know it, the memory machine begins again. In other words, life goes on. Okay, so I realize that was a little glib of me, and I do not want to deny the fact that today is a day of deep, private grief for the Windsor family. They are human beings. But I think we can agree that there is something about Elizabeth's passing that just feels personal to many more people than just her immediate family. I never knew any of my grandparents, but I suspect if I had known any of them into my adult years, I might be experiencing something similar to the kind of grief that took me by surprise 2 Thursdays ago. I'll admit that I cried after I heard the Queen had died, sitting in my car. I wasn't planning on crying. Does anybody plan on crying? I realize having written that, but I wasn't planning on crying, but the tears came anyway. However, in that moment of spontaneous grief, I knew I was not crying out of blind loyalty to a monarch. Rather, I was crying for all the other things that are wrapped up in that person institution that makes up a king or queen in modern-day functioning democracy like Britain. I wept for the memory of hiking trips with my dad in the Alps before he got old, and for memories of wet summer holidays on the beach in Scotland with a succession of beloved pets, I might add, 2 dogs. I laugh cried at the memory of times I'd gone horse riding with my sister and had fallen off thanks to her craziness. And I recalled some really special concerts with people I'd loved. My mind ranged further in time and space, reimagining one of the grandfathers I'd never met, who made it through every battle of World War I, only to succumb to dysentery and PTSD for the rest of his life. I also thought about all the collective highs and lows from our national British life that I'd witnessed over the course of my lifetime, the extent of which falls comfortably into the late Queen's reign. I'm 47 years old. I remembered Margaret Thatcher, the Falklands War, Mr. Gorbachev, Perestroika, the fall of the Berlin Wall, New Labour and the Good Friday Agreement, the death of Princess Diana, the Olympics of 2012, then Brexit 4 years later. And finally, I cried about my own life, raking over some of the choices I'd made or hadn't made on my way to becoming an independent person. It was intense, let me tell you. But it also felt good to cry, and by the way, it's always good to cry. The institution of the monarchy and its rituals, such as those being enacted in London over the past 10 days and today, are just too much a part of the fabric of our national life for us Brits to ignore. Like it or not, our ancestors created kings and queens in England over 900 years ago, and no revolutionary moment has so far managed to bring their winning streak to an end. Over on that side of the pond, at least. I had to get that in, Mr. Eckhart, just to be sure I know my history. It's hardly surprising, therefore, that for many of us Britons, Queen Elizabeth features in some of our earliest memories. Case in point. I grew up in a conservative military family in a picturesque village in the southwest of England, where not very much happened. Predictably, given the fact we were army brats, my sister and I were brought up to respect the Queen, whom we mainly experienced through her annual address to the nation on Christmas Day, which had the advantage of being broadcast just as we were finishing up the holiday meal, but before the afternoon James Bond movie began. When I was aged 8, I even wrote a letter to the Queen and received a reply, which, if not directly from HMQ, then at least came from one of her self-described ladies-in-waiting, who informed me that Her Majesty had commanded her to reply to me. My dad also had a job where he gave commands, albeit military, not royal ones. That's him with the Queen in 1969 as she inspects his regiment in Edinburgh, Scotland. And these are the ceremonial pants. I don't know if you can see that. Thank you. Sorry. You can see that he and I are wearing the same pants. They look pretty good after about 50 years, I think. One of my dad's postings before I was born took him to the jungled island of Borneo, which is now a part of present-day Malaysia, where he and his troops were part of a final push by the British to expel communist fighters from this previously colonized territory. A child of the British Empire, Dad's covert work in this lesser-known conflict was just one piece of the puzzle, fast disintegrating puzzle of colonies and territories all around the world that the British had ruled for centuries. However happy and glorious we might proclaim the late Queen to be while singing the national anthem, the fact is Elizabeth's epic reign presided over the end of empire for the British and the start of a multicultural Britain. That's a very complicated legacy and one that is only now beginning to be addressed. If my dad were alive today, he would be 90 years old. And I don't doubt that he too would be mourning the Queen's passing, albeit with a much stiffer upper lip than mine. I don't think that he and I would share the same sentiments about the monarchy, but something tells me we would have understood how the other felt in this moment of maximum national emotion. When I was 13, I escaped being sent to military school. A fine choice for many other people, but definitely not a good fit for me. 5 years later, I took matters into my own hands and headed north to live for many years in a city, first as a university student, then as a young professional. From there, I went abroad, first to Poland and then to America. And as you can imagine, those experiences changed me, broadening my mind, shaping the worldview I have today. So really isn't very surprising that I ended up here at St. Johnsbury Academy, that most paradoxical of schools. On the one hand, a traditional institution steeped in rituals. Think about chapel, the alma mater, commencement. And on the other, a place of radical freedom of thought, where excellence is pursued in just about every field imaginable, and the individual is always valued for what they are capable of achieving, success always being measured against their previous performance. With the pandemic here at St. J, we thought we had lost our rituals. It seemed as though our institution would never rebound. But here we are. Give yourselves a round of applause. By staying loyal to our core beliefs and exercising not a little patience, we were able to reimagine some of the things we cared about the most, adapting them for the virtual setting, but not giving up on them completely. And as a result of having kept faith in ourselves, we're here again in person today. I may have my reservations about royalty, but I'm not yet ready to give up on the idea of being part of a good community with shared experiences and beliefs. This school continues to be a place that makes me feel at home. It inspires me to be better, to go on learning, and to be open to the potential that is in every moment. The piano piece that I'm going to share with you now is called All Our Yesterdays. And I wrote it when I was about the same age as most of you juniors in the house, although the piece had a different title then. I always think it's fun, instructive, to come back to something you've created years in the past, to dust it down and see what you can do with it in the time you have now. The best part of this process, for me, is when you realize who it was you were writing the music for all along. And I don't just mean the Queen. I don't just mean my dad. No, the music's for you. Thank you, St. Johnsbury Academy.
wish I could say encore. That was absolutely beautiful, Mr. Mackenzie. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask our other guests to come back tomorrow, if that's okay. We've got to get going today. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you so much again to Mr. Mackenzie. Faculty? Is this you?
Yes, so I'll get that before because I will forget. And that's Taylor's, I think.
Okay. Thank you so much.
It meant a lot to me.